Welcome back. I'm Danny Girl Art, and I'm happy to be here tangling with you today. If this is your first time, I hope you enjoy yourself. I have pulled out 2 tangles today that I'm going to work with. I'm not sure what we're going to do yet. I'm going to let my pen decide all of that for us. But I do know that I'm going to use the tangle Stella, and that is by Jana Rogers. And I'm going to use Sand Swirl. And Sand Swirl is by Carrie Hune, and I apologize if I have pronounced anyone's names incorrectly. I'm going to be using a Zendala today, and I've also printed out the Marcus Operandus from Zentangle.com, so you can print that out too if you don't have one, or you don't even need it. You can just freehand. This doesn't need to be exact by any means. I'm going to take my Zendala, and if you don't have one, you can do a pre-cut circle yourself. I'm going to put it on top of my circle, and I'm going to take a 2B pencil. You can take any pencil you have, and I encourage you to press lightly where I'm going to be pressing darker just so you can see. And you'll notice that there are, on the Marcus Operandus, that there are whole circles. I'm going to start connect lines. So I'm going to connect a line from the top to the bottom here. And I'm going to, and you can rotate your tile to make your life easier. I'm going to go from here to here. Again, press a lot lighter than me. I'm going to go at a diagonal. And I'll do a diagonal in the other direction too. I'm just getting over being sick, so I do apologize for the sound of my voice. Okay, so we just have some guidelines here. And we're going to start with Stella. I'm going to use a Micron black PN today, but feel free to use a colored pen, an 01, or any size that suits you and you feel comfortable with. So I'm going to start by placing an orb, tiny orb in the middle, and filling it in. And then coming up maybe less than halfway, maybe a third of the way, I'm going to put another orb on each of these lines. So I'm using the lines as my guide. Now, if you feel like a little confused about where these dots should go, what you can do is, in pencil, first make like a halfway mark on each line, and then just drop it a little bit below. Or you could divide it into thirds, whatever you're comfortable with, but it doesn't need to be exact by any means. Okay, I'm going to start with a set of 3 triangles, like so. Kind of reminds me of a reindeer nose and eyes. And I'm going to start on the outside, and I'm going to be drawing a curved line to the center of my center dot. So I'm going to start from the outside, and I'm going to come down, and I'm going to do the same thing on here. So I'm redefining the outside and then meeting in here. Then I'm going to go in the opposite direction. So I'm going to start on the left side of this orb, come up, and do the mirror image on this side. Rotate my tile. This line is coming from our little circle coming down. So I'm going to do the mirror image here. Okay. And I'm going to keep flipping these. So go slowly with me as I do this. I'm going to redefine, come up, come around, down the right side, and up. So you could approach it that way, piece by piece. If that is confusing, then what I encourage you to do is to come in, do the next one going around the side, rotate it, and do the inside pieces first. So what I mean by that is the center sections. So I'll curve, rotate, outside curve, rotate, inside, rotate, outside. And then outside actually becomes an inside. So I have all those. So I'll go back to my beginning area. And the way I think about this is, okay, I don't want these lines to all bump into each other. So I don't really need to overthink it, but I do understand if it gets confusing. So be patient with yourself as you're doing this. So I'm looking at all these. I see that this is going in like a pinwheel shape. This is going that way. This one's coming here. My next one's going to come up. And then I do the mirror. So I don't want to do the same thing I just did. This one is coming, they're all coming now clockwise. So I'm going to come this way. And I'm going to continue around. Please feel free at any time to pause this or to add something of your own in. That's fine too. And I hope that you post these to my Facebook page, which is Dani Girl Art, D-A-N-I, Girl Art, C-Z-T, when you're done with these. Okay, so that's my shape. And again, I have no plan with this. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is go around and I'm going to aura. So I'm just following the shape that's already there and outlining all the way around. Hold your tile so that it's comfortable for your hand to draw and so that you can always see what you're drawing. If your hand's blocking the visibility of what you're drawing, then try to approach it in a different way so you can see what you're doing. And what's comfortable for me may not be comfortable for you. So if you find something that is more comfortable, you need to go with your instincts and do that. Okay. I'm going to go in now and I'm going to add one more thin border going around. And as I do this, I'm going to ink in this border, this aura, I should say. So you could aura the whole thing first and then ink in, if that's more comfortable for you. Or you can do it in bits and pieces like I am and work your way around. You can also, if you have available to you a graphic one or a Identi pen that's a little bit thicker, you could go in and use that as well. Okay, so by looking at this, I know that I am going to need to go back in, add more detail to the Stella later, and add some more dark areas to contrast, to show the difference between light and dark, since this is so bold. So we're gonna need some more bold things in there as well. Okay, so I'm gonna wait though, because nothing's come to me yet. I'm gonna start with Sand Swirl next. And I am going to start to go around the outside of here. And I think I'm going to start where they're Ving in. And you decide which way you want to do this. So I'm going to come around and make a nice big loop with a little circle in the inside or a teardrop shape. And then starting in the inside, I'm going to go around and make an aura. You decide how wide you want your aura. If your lines are closer together, it's going to give the illusion of a little bit of a darker area. And if they're closer together, if they're further apart, they're going to look a little bit lighter. So you can aura as many times as you want. I'm just going to start with 2 for right now. And I might come back and do a third. So I'm going to go into the next one, and I think this time I am going to go in the opposite direction. I'm going to continue doing this, alternating. Maybe you want all of yours in the same direction. Maybe you want it just completely random. It's your call. Maybe you bump into the sides or go off the page. All right, so I'm going to continue around with the rest of these. Okay, so I've gone all the way around, and I want you to take notice. Mine are by no means what people would want to say perfect lines or perfect swirls, and that's okay. Remember that the most important thing is your enjoyment here, and you're taking time for yourself right now, and just be in the moment and enjoy the process of what you are doing. Okay, so I think I'm going to go back in and do another sort of aura coming around here and coming up. So it's going to look like a V shape. So I'm going to come down and come up like so. And again, I'm kind of just going with the flow with this, letting my pen kind of decide what it wants to do. And this does wind up becoming quite intuitive the more and more you tangle. So if you don't feel that yet, it's completely natural if you're just starting out. And even if you've been tangling a long time, some days things come very easy. Some days it might not as much. Every day is different. Okay, so I like the shape that that's made. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a scrap of paper. And before I do that, I am going to add one more aura inside each of these V shapes. So you can see that as I glance at my work, I might want to add something else, do something else, enhance. And if you don't want to do another aura, that's fine. I felt like I wanted to match up with something similar in style to that Sand Swirl before I moved on to what I was originally thinking. Oh, look at that. So that's okay. I already did that, but that's going to get covered. All right, so I'm going to pick up my Identi pen, but you can continue with your Micron PN if you'd like to. And I am going to now fill in this entire remaining triangle. So why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I want to balance out where I have these really bold dark areas where I'm showing this contrast. So I'm going in now and inking in all of these side pieces. So sometimes when I ink in dark areas on the outside, I need to just go pick up my tile and add a little ink on the side if you see little white spots. So if you need to do that, please feel free to do so. And you'll see and be able to tell where you need to. And if this makes no sense at all, then it's probably because you don't need to do it. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the inside of my Stella and decide what kind of pattern I'm going to do there next. So I'm going to put my Identi pen down and I'm going to move to my Micron PN again. And I want to give the illusion that some of these are in front and some are in back. And a lot of that will take place when we begin shading. So I think what I'm going to do is on the ones that have the curves going out, I'm going to start from the center and I'm going to run a little bit of an angle, a little curve to it from the center to the point. So I'm going to do that on all 4 of those, just having a little angle to it to make it show a little bit more interest. And from there, I'm going to draw a line going like up to the left and up to the right on each. And again, I'm doing this as I go along, just on a whim here today, no plan. Our moods change. Sometimes we want to think a little bit and brainstorm in our heads, and sometimes not so much. Okay, so I'm going to add at the corners now a little rounding. So I'm just dropping in a little curve that follows into the line that is already there. It's going to add a little bit more darkness. On the top one, I'm rounding on both sides for mine. And as far as my pressure goes, what I like to do is take some of the pressure off of my pen as I get closer to the line that's already there. So it gradually just blends into the line that's there. And that's something that really has taken a lot of practice for me and did not come natural, whereas it may come natural to some of you. I don't know if you noticed as I was drawing, I got a little fuzz from the fiber of the tile on my pen. So I just went to a piece of scrap paper and just pulled that off. Okay, so in the background part now, this area here, I'm going to go in and add some hatching. And hatching is little flick lines. So I'm going from the center, pulling up with these delicate little lines, kind of going off gentle. And I'll rotate my tile and do that in each one. And this will start to make it have the illusion that these are behind the other sections we just did. I still feel like I want something else in here. I think what I will do is I'm going to add a caviar in the top. So I'm going to do a orb on the top of each one. And then I'm going to aura the inside and fill it in, leaving a little glare mark like so. Let's go ahead and do that on each one. And from here, I'm just going to add little lines on each side. Again, all optional. You decide what you want. I still feel like I need something else. I'm looking at my spacing. This spacing right here is kind of small. I was thinking if I had enough space, I could have put another caviar in these outside parts. So that's an option. You could do that if you'd like, or I think I'm gonna leave it to my shading. I think once I have my shading in, everything's going to feel more complete. So I have my tortillon and I have my 2B pencil, and you take the pencil, your choice. And I'm going to start in the center of my tile where my hatching is. And along that curve, I'm going to run some graphite, going around this V shape, and take my tortillon and start to blend it out. So you can always go back in also and add a little bit more pencil, especially at the edges. Sometimes we wind up with some white marks because we didn't get close enough because we didn't want to go too far over. So that's an easy fix, is just take your pencil and touch up. And you'll notice I didn't even go back in with the tortillon a second time. There wasn't no need to. Be careful of this really inked area. You don't want to press down really hard. The paper is already compromised. So I'm starting to get the illusion now of foreground, which is the front of our tile, and backgrounds. These that I'm shading right now are starting to go into the background. And sometimes as I turn my tile, notice things that I just want to go back to and add a little bit more to. And pick it up every now and then and look at it at arm's length. See if you need to add anything else. Blend a little bit more. Don't be scared of this tile. Go in and be aggressive with your shading. I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow on the side of the caviar, and I might just have enough graphite on my tortillon already that I can just go in, and I do, and just do a little side piece. All right, so I'll probably go back into these pieces, but before I do that, I want to go around my aura here, and I'm going to add some graphite going all the way around. If I was tangling on my own, I'd be turning my tile much more than I am right now. Some of this feels a little awkward to me because I am trying to allow you to be able to see the most you can as I'm drawing on the video. But if I was by myself, I would be definitely moving that around more. Picking up my tortillon and going in now and bringing some of this out. Little circular motions work nice. I'm trying not to bump into that really inked in area too much. It's going to happen a little bit, don't worry. And we want to try, also another reason not to go into that black is because it will make it look a little gray and shiny if we have pencil on it. I'm just going around, touching up a little bit. So I'm going to now just go in and add a little bit of graphite on the inside of this swirl. And again, I can go in a little bit extra if I need to. And I'm going to go along the outside of the sand swirl. And I'm happy I didn't wind up adding any other detail in here because I am a heavy shader. I really, really like dark shading. That may not be your style. That's okay. But I do like that contrast. So had I added something else in, it might have just been a little too much. So I'm going to go in now, and what I just did in that area, I'm going to continue going all the way around. So you can see now that the outside is shaded, that you need to go into some of these. So I'm going to, actually I'm going to do it on, I'm going to go along the right side of each of these lines and add some graphite. Now think about the spacing you have. Your spacing might be more, might be less than mine, so you might need to make some changes intentionally because it's different spacing and yours may not call for shading in a certain area, or it might call for more than what I'm doing. Okay, so any last things is maybe if you have a wide section that you want to go in along this aura and add some graphite, you could go in and do that as well. You may not need that on yours. I'm not doing it all the way around because I have some narrow areas and I don't want the whole tile to turn gray. So I'm just turning it, looking at it, evaluating where I should go. Again, hold it up at arm's length and take a look and see where your tile needs more. All right, so when you get to a point where you think you're done, turn your tile around, appreciate all your work, and be grateful for the time that you've given yourself today and allowed yourself to create some art and be present in the moment. And pick up your micron and find a spot where you can add your chop. I'm going to squeeze mine in right here. And I always encourage you to, on the back of your tile, to write the tangles that we used, because sometimes you will forget. I know there's so many names out there. And sign and date. And please subscribe to my channel and like this video if you enjoyed yourself today. And if you do create a tile, you can go on to Facebook and you can post at Danny Girl Art CZT, or just tag me at Danny Girl Art. It's been a great joy to be with you today, and I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you have a really nice rest of your day. See you soon.